What is this made out of? Is it latex?
EVA is ethyl vinyl acetate.
I don't know that that helped me.
Me neither. I just know that that's what those letters mean. Not my finest work, but that's fine.
Wouldn't that be great if that was your finest
Yeah,
work?
put it in the museum.
How did you get here?
Oh, I don't even know. Oh, no!
We've done
it.
it. Wow, that looks fantastic. Oh, hey there. This episode of The Modern Rogue brought to you by Squarespace. Head on over to squarespace.com/rogue. Spell it right, R-O-G-U-E. And when you sign up, use promo code ROGUE at checkout, get 10% off. Okay, here we go. Yeah. I feel like you're about to start glowing with the power as you teach me how to smith with foam.
That's right. We've done a lot of fun stuff on the channel together. We did 3D printing. We did Nerf repainting.
We made
life
potato
casting.
cannons.
Yeah,
And...
that's not what I do. This, believe it or not, this is my wheelhouse.
I mean, you are the author of books 1, 2, and 3 of the Foamsmith trilogy.
It's true,
Available where? At punishprops.com.
You got it.
Hey.
This material is called EVA foam.
What is this originally used for?
Floor mats, packaging.
Okay.
Yeah, so cheap.
Yeah,
which is really, really great. In fact, when we started making our Mass Effect costumes, we made them out of floor mats.
Yeah, you weren't the first person to figure out that this is fantastic for cosplay stuff, right?
No, but I did run with it. We make costumes, we make props. Today, you and I are gonna make a prop.
Okay.
Do something super fun. I found this wrench back there.
Yeah.
And I figured we could make a copy of that, but I wanted a cool twist. I want to make it look like our wrench has been sitting at the bottom of the ocean for like years.
Bioshock wrench.
Yeah, I want it to look crusty and rusty, something you could bring on your Fallout costume.
And by the way, even if you're just making a movie for fun, when a character in a story is going to be wildly swinging around an object, the rules are very strict.
Yeah.
It cannot be an actual knife. You see this scar right here?
I do.
That was 7 stitches because we were using an actual knife on set that was tucked into a belt loop, and I was on the ground. The knife slipped out and landed right there.
Ugh.
All of this went numb for weeks.
I believe it.
You don't use real props. You don't use a real wrench. You make a
Yeah.
safe simulacrum.
So for low budget filmmaking, this is perfect.
Yeah.
And the materials are almost insignificant. You can do this with scraps. We're gonna use a tiny bit of this foam to make this thing.
Okay, so how do we begin?
Let's get started. First step, we're gonna kind of make like the core of this thing, and we're just gonna trace the thing we already have onto some foam.
So I'm so dumb. I'm sitting here thinking, where's the silicone mold? Are we going to take a perfect cast of it? Which I guess you can.
You could.
If you needed to outfit like 75 extras with rusty wrenches.
But you just need one. This is how we're gonna do it.
Okay.
So the core of it will be this stuff. This foam is pretty stiff. If you were doing a bigger prop, you might put like a rod down the middle of it to make it a little stiffer. But we're just gonna trace the outline of this thing and then cut it out.
Is this gonna be one of those experiences where I'm gonna be convinced that this looks like garbage and won't play as a real wrench, but then like the final result will happen and I'll be amazed?
Probably.
Did I just spoiler my entire episode?
There we go, and might as well do that. These are our favorite knives for using with foam. They have the blade that you can extend really long if you need it.
Yeah, would you ever use that much blade?
Yes. If you're cutting something, the more shallow angle you have, the easier time you're gonna have. So trying to cut foam with just a little bit sticking out, like this, is gonna be more frictiony.
This is why guillotines are shaped that way.
Yeah.
Because when I was a kid, I was like, why not just chop down? And the answer is it'll just go ka-thunk and then stop, whereas it provides a slicing over a big area.
Just like a guillotine.
Just like a guillotine.
I'll rough cut this out, and you'll see nice fresh blade cuts it very easily. The thing you wanna worry about, and you can do some practice cuts, I recommend that, the blade is gonna wanna wander or tilt. And for this, we just want a 90-degree cut. So when you do, shallow angle, and just pull it through, and just keep the tip in contact with the cutting surface.
Got it.
Like that. Now, if you wanted an angled cut on purpose, you could do that too. But we're just doing all straight
and
cuts.
you would want that if we were making like a gigantic kitchen knife or something.
Exactly, beveled edge or something like that. This inner part here, you can just press the tip in, like that, and cut it out. For the outer stuff here, you don't even have to get it to the line. We're gonna use the rotary tool to clean up any of the outline.
So it'll be easy to correct outside going in.
Yeah.
It's the inside going out that we need the precision on.
Yeah, imagine trying to get a rotary tool down into
Yeah, you're gonna
this.
get a bunch of curved everything.
Exactly. But with the knife, we can just cut it right to the line. And you notice I'm doing this because...
I was about to say, I like that you're doing all the hard parts.
So the outside part, if you just cut kind of a rough cut around it, again, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay, that's good to know going into it. I would overly try to get it an exact curve like an artisan, but if we're just gonna be sanding it down.
Yeah, there you go. You know everything you need to know.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna stand here and
this
worry.
is me just, this is probably a good idea. Okay.
And then to go around that curve, you can even take multiple straight cuts, like faceted cuts if you want.
It's a little bit like rendering a 3D poly model. You got a low poly one, and then it just gets more and more refined.
Now you're speaking my language.
I'm not gonna worry, boy, I really do wanna just overly obsess about getting this precise, but I shouldn't.
One of my favorite things about foam is if you goof it up, we got a ton of it. You just do it again.
Yeah, just start again.
Yeah. But don't goof it up.
There we go. How much more do I have to do?
That's perfect.
Join us next week when we replace this with a digital wrench. So it's a crossover with film, right?
Yes.
We just make ping pong balls and attach them to.
You can already see though, like where we're getting at, right? If I was gonna like pretend to have to hit you with this, something perfectly safe. To add some more detail, I have another sheet of foam here. This is much thinner, similar stuff though.
Okay.
So what we can do then is cut out some details and then just glue them on.
And we're not worried about the fact that this is like smooth or whatever.
No.
We could just have obviously 2 different layers on it.
Yeah, and we'll use the rotary tool to clean that up a little bit. But again, remember, this is gonna be covered in rust.
Yeah, okay.
Little imperfections and everything are gonna go away.
I think that's the part that I'm just having to accept on faith because otherwise it just seems like, but they'll know, they'll see.
We need 2 of those, one for each side.
Oh, of course, of course. All right.
So do one and then just flip it over.
Yeah. I just shaved off part of the wrench.
It's your wrench, man.
Looks great. Good job, me. There we go.
That will work great. This is it's gonna be a magic trick because we're gonna turn this mess. Actually, this one's
pretty bad.
Far too narrow.
Pretty bad. All right.
Just cut off this chunk right here.
Okay. Oh, that's right, because we can grind it down.
We
I
can
keep
just
forgetting
grind
that
it
part.
down. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
I'll just strip off a little bit. I think I just made it too small. No, it didn't make it too small. I seek your approval.
Yeah. It's
How's that?
yeah. That's great. So it's gluing time, and one of my favorite things about this foam is that it plays with a lot of glue, super glue, hot glue. My favorite is contact cement.
Is this the one you do the 2 sides, you let it kind of dry and then it sticks together?
You got it. This is one you can commonly get at most hardware stores. It's got a little brush in it, which is great. So we need it to cover most of the handle there. So we just brush a bit of it on. Now this stuff you don't want to be using in like a small room with no windows or ventilation. It is a little nasty. If you do a lot of this, or if you're going to glue up something really big especially, you want to wear a respirator for this. But we're just doing a tiny thing here, we'll be fine. So that goes on one side. The thing I find with this glue that makes a huge difference is you want a nice, even, thin layer without like big globs.
Yeah.
So just spread it out and spread it all the way to the edge.
And so thin is okay, right?
This stuff is surprisingly aggressive. Where's the other half of this? The other?
I think this one, I'm not sure.
No. Just cut off this chunk right here.
Okay. Oh, that's right, because we can grind it down.
I keep forgetting that part.
Down, yeah. All right.
Awesome.
I'll just strip off a little bit. You just make another one.
I'll just make another one.
Is there a time limit on how long we have to use this?
Once you stick it down, it's about 5 minutes, although it's drying real quick here in Texas.
All right.
But once it's done, you've got quite a few minutes before you have to stick them together. So you cover that one, and I will get the other side of this wrench, because we're going to do both sides.
Got it.
If you need to hold something, use the tip of the knife to hold it.
Oh, brilliant.
So you don't get that crap all over your hands. So yeah, really spread it out and really make sure it just gets to the edges. And I found with this particular brand, if you're doing like seams that really need to hold up for a costume, You want to brush it on, give it 5 minutes, and brush a second layer on.
Got
For
it.
this,
Oh, this guy dried entirely, so I
yeah.
guess I gotta...
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I do have to get the other side of this, though.
Oh, so the fact that it got totally dry is totally fine.
And in fact, you want it to look totally dry before you stick it together.
Ah.
So let's give it like 2 minutes. We can give it a hand. Now that our stuff is mostly dry and ready to go, this is why I love the contact cement. Once these sides touch, they're gonna wanna mate, but you have all the time in the world to position everything and then stick it down and then press it, as opposed to having to hold it while the glue dries.
Got it. And I'm not
it's gonna overlap on the edges, but that's just fine.
Oh dear, I almost did the wrong thing.
Yeah, once it touches down, it wants to grab.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So now we have a little bit more thickness there.
I can't tell the difference between these two.
I know, practically the same. This is, now that extra that we did,
Yep.
you can just trim it. Oop. Trim it right off. This isn't fine mahogany, right? You can overlap everything,
so you have
do
the
extra.
double benefit. You can always strip away more if there's a bad cut, and then you also are going to add kind of rusty barnacle looking stuff on there.
Yeah, and you can't do that with wood, can you, Mark Spagnolo?
Oh, damn.
Okay, let's figure out some more of these details that we have to add to our wrench.
So you probably want this guy.
Little rectangle we'll probably have to cut out right there. Got a little chunk of foam so we can make a little round part. And then we've got a seam there, and that'll be on both sides.
Yeah.
This little seam right there. I'm not gonna do this little indent thing there. We'll just have it. Make it look
What
like...
about this bevel? Do we do the bevel at all?
Take too long to do today.
Yeah,
but you
I
could
agree.
definitely add more thickness on the end of this thing here.
Ah, of course.
And then sand it down nice and smooth. Let me cut this little rectangle out and we'll make the thing here. We'll get to use the rotary tool, that'll be real fun. For cutting through something like this, I don't want to overcut I don't want to cut into this part here.
Yeah.
So I press the tip down like that, and then the tip moves, if that makes sense.
What? Yeah, and I guess you can also do the exact same thing from the other direction as well.
Just sawing it a little bit.
So could we use that as our thingy, or do we want to use this bigger one?
Yeah, okay, we can use this one, I suppose. Don't lose that.
I will not.
And don't put it up your nose.
I
Jesus.
will. No promises.
We remove this little piece, and then we just want to make it round in this direction. And to hold it, because this thing is so tiny, I'm gonna just set it on here like that.
There we go.
And then gently start turning that into a cylinder with my rotary tool.
Oh.
Hold up. You know, I'm not gonna use the knife, I'll just do it by hand. There we go. There we go, much better. So the rotary tool with a sanding drum on it is one of the best tools for foam work. You can see that it's sculpting. It's actually sculpting the foam into a new form.
And so if you're doing a lot of this, I assume you want to make sure that you're properly masked and ventilated and stuff.
You can make quite a bit of dust this way. Let's go around the edge there. That will happen.
Now, in this case, you're using the Dremel to happen to the foam, but you could also move the foam and have it happen to the Dremel, right?
Mm-hmm. You sure can. They make like little drill press stands. I think you have one back there.
Yeah.
We've got these grooves in there. So there's a thread. So I'm gonna just carve a little groove around this thing. So I'm gonna use the corner of this.
And I guess certainly that could twist up and get your webbed skin in there. And you don't want to wear gloves when you're doing this level of fine work. But in general, I guess you'll just abrade your hand, your skin?
Yeah, or mostly this thing just messes up my fingernails.
Okay.
That's the worst that I've had happen. And again, this looks like a goofy little hunk of foam. Once we rust the crap out of it, it's
That's the part I keep having to remind myself.
Yeah. Okay. Not my finest work, but that's fine.
Wouldn't that be great if that was your finest
Yeah,
work?
put it in the museum.
How, 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 how,
All right, no. I'm gonna just clean up these edges.
So in this case, we're not accurately replicating this, but we're just giving a sense of depth
Yeah.
by beveling these edges.
Right, so that this hole looks more like a hole. These edges are gonna fill up with paint and rust.
The lighting, you can see, it catches the shoulder. I mean, even, you know, for the thing we're shooting right now, we have lights behind us so that our shoulders pop.
Yeah, totally. So now that just needs to get glued in there.
So same deal, we want to get it dried on the edges? Or?
Yeah, just the inside of that.
Just all around?
Yeah, all around.
Okay.
And boy, that's some sloppy work.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, there's going to be rust all over it. It's going to be fine. It's great. It's great.
Here you go.
Okay.
I wouldn't keep that on your hands.
Oh, is it bad?
Definitely not good.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put a little bit on this guy here.
So this is different from rubber cement, or is it the same?
It is different. So again, we let this dry for a few minutes and then we'll stick that together. While that's drying, I'm going to trace on just the details that we have so that we have a little guide to work with when we're sculpting.
Got it.
Here's a fun tip. You know what I'm about to do?
I do,
Yeah.
I do. That's amazing. Just by seeing your hands, I was like, that is brilliant.
So hold your finger to act as a guide and you can just go along like that. There we go. This gets stuck right in there now that the glue is mostly dry. And once it touches, I gotta give it a little room and then snug it in there. And it'll wanna stay. What I wanna do first is the edges. Just clean up. We're getting rid of the gap that we see right there. We're making this round and we're rounding this over. So this has to be round.
This is another benefit of doing the low poly thing first, because now you have a very simple task. Take squarish thing and make it round. And then, whereas it would be intimidating if you handed that to me and said, make it look like this other one, but by breaking it into pieces, it all gets easier.
Oh yeah. So we'll go all the way around the edge, all these edges here. This is when we can get it down to the line. But again, we're just trying to make a wrench-shaped object, so we don't have to follow the lines to the T, so to speak. All right, so you want to give this a try? Just rounding over the edges? The way it's rotating matters. It's going to want to pull that way, so you want to run it that way, away from you.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. If you run it towards you, it's going to be digging into the material towards you. And you could just chew right into it.
I see. Oh, okay.
You familiar with some 3D modeling, Maya type stuff? Yeah.
That was in college. I learned 3D Studio Max.
I learned that in high school, and we did Maya in college. A lot of the same principles apply from 3D modeling to foam smithing.
You set up inverse kinematics, ray tracing?
Not for this wrench. But we do operations like bevels, fillets, offsets.
Splines.
Splines. You a fan of NURBS? Non-uniform rational B-splines?
Okay, so what do I do in this case where it was too low? Just kind of thin this out?
Just keep chipping away at the material until it looks good.
Okay.
We just know that it wouldn't have that gap there, the real one. So just whatever gets rid of that gap. This is when, if I was in my shop, I'd have my headphones on, my dust mask on, and I would be zoning out. You could also have a vacuum going to suck up the dust, or dust collector, or a downdraft table. A lot of ways to handle the dust.
This thing right here, do we leave that lip? I guess that's close to what it looks like here.
It is, yeah. We're just gonna use our rotary tool to carve a little trench down the middle like that. I'll show you.
Okay, yeah.
We can see it starts right there.
And it's kind of squared off there.
And it's gonna wanna wander, so just be aware of that. And it's wandering a little bit, but we will just keep going over it.
So this is a case where there'll be variance, there'll be jaggedness, but if you do it enough times, kind of this mean will evolve.
Yes, exactly. And you can see we got down through that first layer. That's probably about as far down as we want to go.
Oh yeah, so the difference in colors is a clue.
And here how the motor's slowing down, you don't want to let it slow down too much. You don't want it to stop.
Is it set to just a really light setting?
Out of 5, it's a 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it can go a lot faster, not necessary. But you're right, see how the trench is forming? Now I'm trying to get it over to the line. So you just do that to the other side.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Bottom of the ocean, remember.
Bottom of
it's
the
gonna be
ocean.
crusty. You definitely want to hold that with your other hand.
So I do want to hold it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it does want to wander. So just take multiple passes.
Let it wander all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, once you get that groove, it just
There
wants
you
to
go.
stay in there.
All right, I'm just gonna clean up some of these fuzzy bits here.
You know what's wild is if I
Wow, yours is way better than mine. So anyway, the work I've done here is pretty spiffy.
What's wild is if my center of vision is over to the side, my peripheral vision, this does completely pass as the actual.
Yeah, and if it's a background prop, let's say the camera's focused
Yeah.
on you, I'm way back here.
Hey, I'm a hero. This guy's fixing my undersea battle mech back here.
So this could sell
Yeah.
if that's all you need it for. Putting a different bit in here so that we can drill our hole. There are a lot of different bits you could use. This is the one
Yeah.
that we had.
And even if I'd imagine if you just punched a hole with a circular file, you could just kind of widen it.
Or if you have a metal tube, you could sharpen the edge of it and cut and punch right through. That works really well. I'm just gonna plunge right through there.
And I assume you're going to want to kind of bevel those edges just like you did the top.
Just soften them up, exactly. There we go. Good enough. Oh, we need to do that. Let me go get the heat gun. This is the magic trick I wanted to show you.
Oh.
So remember with these knives,
Yeah.
the trick where you can just have a little bit come out the end?
Yeah.
So we're gonna trace that line with that.
Just one.
Yeah, let me just do the one side. And
yeah.
You got me.
Okay.
And we're just gonna score that.
Okay.
Looks like we did nothing.
Same thing on the other side?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, okay.
Perfect. Oh, so good. That's a heat gun, not a hairdryer.
Of course, yeah.
It has to get much
This
hotter.
is for something like for shrink wrap or...
paint stripping, that sort of thing. The foam has this great property. When it heats up, it sort of shrinks on itself.
Uh-huh.
So if you have a cut there,
Then it's going to pull back from itself and it's going to look like a real seam.
yeah.
Oh, you can already see it.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah. And that's a significant groove.
Whoa. Whoa.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
That's very cool.
So if you have a textured pattern you wanted to put on something or text you want to put on something, you could trace it with a little fine tipped knife and then heat gun it. And
This
the text
is
will
really
pop out.
coming together,
Yeah.
man. It looks good.
Actually, we should put text on it. Another fun foam thing, you can use a hot knife to carve a detail
Okay.
in there. Let me go get that.
Okay, all right. So you said hot knife. I would have thought of this as just a soldering iron.
Yeah, you can put different tips on it. In fact, there's some solder right there, so you can use it as a soldering iron. Different shaped tips. I think this triangular one will work very well.
And so the idea is that whatever we etch on there, it would be simulated as like the drop forge, something or other.
You nailed it, man. What text should we put on there?
I already know. May I?
Yeah.
There we
Nice.
go.
Punished rogue. You even spelled rogue right. We've got a hot knife here, and we've got a tip in it that is just pointy, really good for like carving text.
Right.
And we're gonna carve what you wrote, punished rogue.
Just
into
trace it?
Just gonna trace it. Now, this is melting the foam, and there are bad fumes coming up here.
Hold your breath.
We're just doing a little bit. If I was doing a ton of this for like a prop or whatever, well-ventilated area, respirator, cool. We're all on the same page.
I'll tell you what,
All right.
I'm so glad that we got 40 feet up.
Yeah, having the space is awesome. So let me just show you how it works. You don't have to push very hard. You just move nice and slowly.
Oh yeah, you could tell there's no resistance on there.
Yeah. There you go. You want to
But
keep
wait,
that?
if you want to finish punished,
Oh,
I'll
I
do
mean, that
rogue.
makes sense,
Yeah.
doesn't it? All right, you're up.
All right. Again, I'm struck by the fact that it's not me writing, I'm just tracing.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Cool.
Look at that.
However, this is still hot.
Yeah.
Everyone. And that is the last of the actual foam smithing. The rest of it's just going to be our finishing work, making
Yeah.
it look all rusty. This is the secret sauce. There we go.
We're giving up all the secrets. Are we going to get a letter from the Foam Guild?
I should make a foam guild. That sounds like a good idea. And then I'm going to drill a hole through the bottom of this. And then I'm going to use the drill bit.
Ah. Brilliant.
Huh.
There we go.
So we
okay.
can paint both sides of it.
Yeah, perfect.
This paint is a two-part system. This is the paint. It's an acrylic paint with iron filings in it.
Okay, so different things like to bond to different materials. So acrylics and this
And the foam,
get along.
They get along, yeah.
Whereas we put like acetone on this, it would all melt, right?
Not with EVA foam. With styrofoam, it would.
Okay.
This stuff's pretty resilient.
All right.
If we were doing, let's say, a more refined finish, we would put maybe some epoxy on the outside or a PVA glue to seal all of this. We're not gonna do that today. We're making it crusty. So we have our paint, and it's just an acrylic paint with just a normal paintbrush. We're gonna cover this thing.
How generously?
It's very generous. Just slather it.
The fact that it's globby on there is fine.
Yeah, let's spread it out a little bit. We'll do a couple of layers. When we're ready to start rusting it, while it's still wet, we'll spray it with this stuff. And that'll interact with the iron in there and start to oxidize it.
Got it.
There are different coatings, there are different oxidizers. You can mix and match them. This one with iron produces more of a ruddy red rust. I've got another one at home that'll do like an orange.
I would think it would be the type of iron that would be different, but it's the oxidizer that gives the different colors.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really fun to play with.
And so how long does it sit to make its magical transformations?
So it starts working right away, but what we'll end up doing with this is leaving it overnight.
So it's not a case of like, oh no, we left it too long.
I mean, the oxidizing is going to take as long as it takes.
So it'll do the reaction to completion.
Yes, exactly.
Got
and
it.
that takes generally overnight. Here, I'll do the other side. You know what's amazing about being down here in Texas? Is paint drying times.
Yeah.
So
oh, that's right,
fast.
because you live in a cold soup. You
Yeah.
live in gazpacho land.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, isn't it? I live in Seattle. You probably already figured that out.
Oh, gazpacho land.
Yeah.
And so the thicker, the more iron there, the more rust.
Some more to work with. We also want to make sure like our marker lines are covered. This is not a metal finish. This is only designed to be rusted.
Where would you pick this stuff up?
I get this from their website, but specialty art supply stores might have something similar.
Would you walk in and say, I want the stuff that goes to rust?
Yeah, say I want a acrylic paint that comes with an oxidizer.
Okay.
Okay, well we're just gonna let that dry for a little bit and do another coat. It's good to mix this up. The iron can sink to the bottom.
I don't think you mixed it enough.
You know, I was a bartender.
Yeah. Oh no! My floor! My beautiful floor has avoided a paint spill for half a goddamn decade! Oh my God!
That was a brand new bottle of paint.
Is there anything special that we need for cleanup?
No, it's acrylic is water-based.
Yeah, we got
Did you know I'm a bartender?
Yeah, why?
So Brian's really laying it on now, a really thick layer. The patient and understanding Brian.
No, I am but the apprentice. You are the foam master.
He's putting a ton of it on there, and while it's still wet is when we're gonna hose it down with the good stuff.
Ah, so I want to be speedy on this side.
You don't have to worry too much. You got a lot of paint on there.
Okay.
He's dabbing it on there instead of brushing it because we don't want streaks, we don't want brush strokes in our rusty prop. We want it to look like an organic amalgamation of lumpiness.
I assume you look at reference photos and just sort of deconstruct it into what shape is that rust on there?
Oh, totally. I have a giant reference library of photos of just stuff and rusty old vehicles and props and tools and stuff. If I see a giant rusty prop, I'm like, snap, 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 snap.
Well, and I assume you would have to think in terms of okay, where was this stored and how did the moisture get in?
Oh, totally,
was it, did the wind blow this way, et cetera, et cetera?
How was it handled?
Yeah.
In this case, under the ocean for a long amount of
so
time.
fairly uniform.
Uniform over the whole thing. You get ready with that spray bottle,
Okay.
man. Please don't spray that on me.
I was about to say, how worried should I be about this stuff?
It smells really bad. It's like
it's like the
ammonia.
egg dye.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look from the warnings like there's much to worry about it getting on the bench or.
No, probably don't want to drink it.
Probably.
We want to it on a misting setting. Not
Nope,
that.
not that.
That's worse.
Yeah, you want it tight.
There we go. So I'll do it on the back here. That's really all you need.
Oh, wow. So not much at all. And it looked like it was mainly...
And I don't want to spray it into here. Or you don't want to spray that on any of your metal tools.
Oh, yeah. I guess...
I had a brainwave one day. I was like, you know what's better than a pump bottle? My airbrush. I'll run it through my airbrush.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So I noticed that you got it mainly on the top. Do we want to get the bottom or?
Yeah, get a little bit on everything. Thing is, we'll start to see it kick off and make colors.
Really?
And then you can...
Already?
You
like
can,
that fast?
In a few minutes. But as you see the colors develop, you can spray it in different spots.
Okay, so just keep going?
Give it a few more spritzes and then we'll wait. In fact, I have the heat gun plugged in because heat should help accelerate the reaction. But again, like I said, we're gonna leave this overnight to fully, really react. In a few hours, I'll probably come in here and give it another spritz.
Okay. How did we turn out? Oh my God, you weren't kidding. This is totally rusted.
Very
on
rusted.
The drill bit now.
The drill bit got super rusted. The wrench, not as much.
Let's say you had lots of time. Would you just paint it with more of the ferrous material or would you just use more of the decay spray? Ooh, they should market it as decay spray.
I was actually thinking I would experiment. You can mix your own oxidizing solutions to work with whatever metals you've got lying around. That's where I would start experimenting.
That's a whole different offshoot of voodoo out there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking for today, to really finish this off, we could do a bit of a paint treatment on it so that it looks a little bit more like this thing that I found on your property.
Yes, okay. I don't know what war happened where there was a fire and pitchforks. I guess if you had time, you could actually get it as rusted. But in this case, we want to simulate the patchwork, the type of rust that we're seeing here.
Exactly, yeah. There's some different colors and there's texture. So that's what we want to try and add. And we're going to do it with paint and also some dirt that I also found on your property.
That's so funny. I'm like, how would you simulate dirt? And
Yeah.
It's like you would use dirt.
Rocks. Bonnie also hooked us up with some ceramic debris that we can mix in there.
Fantastic. Okay, walk me through it.
Cool. First thing we're gonna do, since we're painting, is we're gonna put on gloves so that our hands don't get covered in paint.
How toxic can paint be?
It's not really, but we have a history of making a mess. I'm gonna start by covering most of it with a ruddy red color. We've got some browns, we've got some reds. We're gonna mix up a little rust, a little.
And again, you're just kind of going by gut feeling on a lot of this?
Yeah, and I'm looking at here and I'm saying, what color do I want? One of these dark areas with a darker reddish hue to it. Mix that up a little bit.
Now, you don't want it perfectly blended, or do you?
You're right, we don't. We want a lot of variety, variation. I'm even gonna chuck a little purple in there. If you look really close at rust, There's purple in there. There's green in there. There's orange. There's all kinds of colors. And we're going to do several passes of different colors and sort of sneak up on what we're trying to get.
Is this one of those kind of like Bob Ross situations where it's like there's only happy accidents? Like you don't have to ever freak out?
Tons of happy accidents.
Okay.
Most of what we're doing is going to be a happy accident. To put it on there, I'm using a sponge because we want that texture I was telling you about.
Like a stipple brush.
Exactly. We're going to pounce.
Yep, we're going to pounce any minute now when you least expect it.
And let's add some of that texture to our paint.
Oh, so you're just putting like straight up like old grass trimmings and dirt.
And I went for something a little finer, not big chunks, but some smaller, finer chunks. We're gonna mix all those in. Actually, that soaked up all our paint, didn't it? Let me throw a little more paint in there. This is fun because we get to make a mess. Hence the gloves.
All right. There, how's that?
Fabulous. Pick up a little paint, and then I like to like just dab it a little bit so that we don't have like a huge glob of paint on there. And
so even if the dirt doesn't, oh wow, already, yeah, all right.
So I'm just applying kind of a random pattern to the whole thing. And I don't have to cover the whole thing either.
All of the natural withdrawn crevices and stuff aren't going to get the rust on there, just like you would expect from natural weathering, right?
You nailed it. Absolutely.
Back in my 3D modeling days, there were 2 texture pack things where it's like you could make a low poly model of, let's say, a tank, and then let's say you needed to model cloth over it. So you would use one plugin that would just, it'd have your low poly model and it would just drop cloth and it would mathematically figure out what that would look like. But that was the exact same software they used to create weathering patterns. They would just virtually drop a cloth on it.
That makes so much
and
sense.
Then the crevices would be non-weathered and the others would be weathered.
I love that. So there's a little bit of paint on here, one of our colors. I'm gonna use the heat gun on a very low setting.
Very low.
So
very low indeed.
Oh, wait, there we go.
Okay.
I didn't turn it on all the way. And we're gonna just dry this.
Yep.
A hairdryer would work on this. This is what we have. But this will let us work really quickly. We'll do one layer, give it a little bit of a dry, and then we'll mix up a slightly different color.
And so would you want to go, I guess, I was about to ask you if you want to go lighter or darker, but I guess the answer is just look at the reference. There's areas that are unrusted, where the paint is barely alive.
And I'm seeing a lot of orange.
Yeah.
Raw sienna is a really good, just sort of orangey rust color.
Okay.
Mix in, you want to grab a handful of that. Let's try some of the clay stuff. Let's throw some texture in there. So get the finer particles.
Ceramic.
Yeah, and
there
we'll
we go.
That.
So I get rid of the bigger chunks, and we'll just kind of give the dusty ones.
You see how the shine is leaving the paint we did?
Yeah.
That means it's drying. But also, I got matte paints as opposed to glossy paints. The finish on your rust is matte. We don't want it to be shiny.
Right.
So that's what we're doing. But also adding any kind of powder to your paints will help matte them out as well. That's probably good.
Okay.
There's no way to fail at this.
Yeah.
You can always just paint it again.
Okay.
Grab your sponge.
Yep.
Get most of the big things off, and then do what I did.
I'll imply that maybe this side was exposed to more corrosive
I love that
elements.
you're thinking about the
actual
storytelling.
story, yeah.
That's exactly what's happening.
And not to get in the weeds, but there's something called a character diamond that you ascribe to characters, but like places have character diamonds.
Yeah.
Even
props have character diamonds.
Yeah.
This wrench is going to get a whole backstory later.
Okay.
It's very tragic, though. You build a whole prop, and it looks perfect like it just came out of the factory.
Yeah.
But that's not what Commander Shepard's rifle looks like, right? So we weather it. We do things to simulate what the real world interaction of handling this object would look like, which means things like rust, or if the object wouldn't rust, then maybe it wears in a certain way. So you'll see like chipped paint.
It reminds me of all the way back to the Future. They built Hill Valley for the 1950s set, and then to make it 1980s, they just sprayed everything with garbage and dirty water.
That's exactly what they did. They did a weathering pass on it.
Okay, so I'm afraid to overdo it.
That looks good. And we can always add more later if we want.
Okay, so I'll mirror this exact same thing on the other side, I guess.
Very good. Boy, it's already starting to starting to pop. The thing I think that was missing the most from yesterday's treatment was the surface texture.
Yeah.
When you really look down at this pitchfork, the corrosion is actually eaten into the surface. It's all pitted.
Okay, you tell me. More?
I'm gonna set it, basically,
Okay.
and then we'll do another pass. As it dries, the color will change a little bit.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, let it dry and then make decisions from there. So see when the light passes, like right here, the lower spot is a little shinier than
Oh yeah,
the
you
one
can
we
definitely
added.
tell, and especially it helps that this is actual rust that we're seeing.
Yeah. All right, we can kind of, I gotta get the handle I was holding. Let's try that. So we're telling a story with this, but we're also God. We can say that anything happened, right? So like the text in there, we can't really see the text anymore.
Yeah.
So we can rust the text a little extra. Right?
Ah, yeah,
Put a lighter color down in the text so that we can read it better. Let's just mix up a slightly different color of this. I'm gonna add a little bit of this gray in there so it's a little lighter. And I'm just mixing the last thing we did because this is the color we're using now.
Yeah, but we just want to convey that it's a different flavor of the same.
Just a little bit different. Normally, when I'm thinking about things like textures or colors on something, I like to think in threes. So at least 3 colors, like a light, a dark, and a middle sort of thing. What I'm thinking about is the tip and the jaws of this probably see the most use. So they probably are really going to be super rusted.
The most ground down.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they will. They'll have more surface area because they're gnarled and scarred from use.
And I'm also using different parts of the sponge. Not that we're going to notice any repeating patterns, but it is really easy to accidentally go stamp, 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 and have like the same repeating
Too
texture.
many. Yeah, it's a bit.
It's like reusing your video game texture over and over.
Yeah, or in Photoshop using the same cloned area too many times.
Okay, then we'll set it. So far, most of the painting we've done has been to the whole thing, but as we go, we're gonna get progressively more picky, like about individual spots. So let's say I wanted more of the purple there. I'm just gonna pick up some that has extra purple there.
Yep.
And just put a little bit here and there. That's all. Happy little rust.
It really is. Boy, it's already, the illusion is settling in so nicely.
And that's all, just a little bit. And then you take stock of where you are and decide what else you might want to do. That's looking pretty awesome. Let's do that text, like I said. We just can't see it anymore.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do a little bit different. I want to use the raw sienna, this lighter brown, but we're going to water it down a little bit.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do the thing where we paint it and then we wipe everything off? Oh, that's
yeah.
All right.
Well, since you're such an expert.
Oh no, I mean, okay. Okay, so
you knew it.
Yeah, but basically we just want to fill in, but we need something ready to wipe. Yeah.
Got it right here, and I'm gonna get this wet as well.
I'm gonna get this all even, and then do we want to get this off right away or?
Yeah, it dries pretty quickly, so yeah, we want to get it to go off or pull it off.
Oh man,
right
it
away.
really does. It looks like it's rusting right there.
And just like everything else, we'll do a pass, let it dry, and see how we feel about it. This is a wash, and it's so easy, and the reveal is always so much fun.
So wait, are acrylic paints water soluble?
Yes.
Oh.
Until they dry completely, they are water soluble or water based.
That looks great, the fact that it's uneven
And that's
on the words.
I want it to be random intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not truly random. There is some thought that goes into it, but you want it to look like this happened naturally. Notice how when I add heat, it starts to bend?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can add heat to the other side.
And just let it wilt
go
the
back.
other way, yeah.
I think I want a little more color down in my company's name.
Yeah, of course.
Like that, and then just dab it. Yeah.
Okay, got
there
it.
you
Not
go.
wiping it, just dabbing it on the surface of the grooves.
Yeah,
stand.
maybe a little bit more. Wiping will sometimes leave a streak.
Yeah.
And we don't want it to
Well, that's
look
not
like
part of the story. If my eye drifts off by about 3 degrees, in my periphery, it just looks 100% authentic.
It reads it, yeah. If you want to practice just the painting part of this, just go buy a toy at a secondhand store or a bunch of toys and just make them look rusty.
Oh, that's great.
It's a great way to practice, yeah. Brian, we've done it.
We've done it. Wow, that looks fantastic. All of a sudden, I feel the pull that I'm certain you know about. Like, all I want to do is, what's the rest of the story? Who's carrying this?
Yeah,
Why?
yeah.
And then I want to build a whole costume. Speaking of which, where should everybody go to learn how to build more costumes?
Punishprops.com. Especially if you really like working with foam like this, we have a whole series of books out, the Foamsmith series. Tell you everything you need to know to make props and costumes from this very humble material.
It looks amazing. Like, you could see the reflection.
Yeah,
on the
there's a
metal.
little bit of that shininess sneaking through, which is why we used these fancy brushes.
Oh, man, no, this is great.
Top-notch work, Old Bean.
New year, new you, am I right? Listen, this here car is meant to represent your website. Seen better days. Sure, it was top of the line at some point, but you know it needs more than a new fresh coat of paint. You need a complete overhaul, my friend. That's why I recommend that you head on over to squarespace.com/rogue. That's right, squarespace.com/rogue. You know, I'm always talking about the beauty of Squarespace websites. Well, guess what? They got each and every one of those designs, and they can use them to train AIs. You're about to be a website creating son of a gun. You could reach out to all of your fans and customers with email lists. There's even an e-commerce store solution for you. And best of all, it'll grow with you. Distributed hosting, that means you can become an overnight international sensation. Whether you want to share cat videos, sell merchandise, if you've got a niche, Squarespace wants to help. Don't take my word for it, though. Go sign up for a free trial. And eventually, when you fall in love with the site, because you're gonna, make sure to use promo code ROGUE at checkout. You'll get 10% off. You'll be keeping us in business. We all know how this New Year's goes. We make a lot of promises to ourselves. What say we see one across the finish line by gussying up your website, thanks to our friends over at Squarespace.
This episode is funded in part by viewers like you over at patreon.com/modernrogue, where you can watch the newly released guest interview, The Fireside Chat with Bill and Brittany Doran. Or you can get access to our Discord or get your name in the credits, which you'll see right now.
Squarespace will get it out for you. We just using that? We are.
Me, the natural scientist mechanic man.
So, this is a relatable character. This tested huge in focus groups.